Hello everyone, and welcome back to Hack and Craft. It's always a pleasure to have you here with me. Now, let's take a look at what I've got on the table today. This clock right here doesn't seem to be working, does it? Let's start by checking the battery, shall we? I'm going to grab a screwdriver and carefully remove the back cover. Now let me try adjusting the battery just a little bit to see if that helps. Nope, still nothing. The clock remains silent. Well, maybe the hands are causing the problem. Let's have a closer look at them together, shall we? First things first, I'm going to open up the clock case. For this step, I'll need a little help from a trusty knife. Now, we just gently work our way around the edges, carefully prying bit by bit until the back cover starts to loosen up. Have any of you ever tried opening something like this before? It takes a bit of patience, doesn't it? From what I can see, I don't think the issue is with the clock hands after all. They seem to be just fine and not stuck. So, it's probably just a dead battery. Let's go ahead and remove it to check. Yep, just as I suspected. This battery looks really old. It might have been sitting in there for years. Let's try popping in a fresh one and see what happens, shall we? Have you ever brought something back to life with just a new battery? It always feels a bit magical, doesn't it? Would you look at that? The clock is ticking again. Now let's take things a step further and do a more detailed check. Right here, I've got a digital multimeter, a handy little tool for measuring all sorts of electrical values. Let's go ahead and use it to test the old battery, shall we? I'm curious to see exactly how low the voltage has dropped. What do you think? Will it still show any charge at all? Now I'm going to take the two probes of the multimeter and touch them to the positive and negative terminals of the battery. Can you see the needle? It barely moves at all. That tells us the battery is extremely weak, almost out of juice. No wonder the clock wasn't working. And while I got the multimeter out, I might as well check the other battery too, the one I just used to get the clock running again. I can already tell the voltage is a bit low on this one too. It's still working for now, but it probably doesn't have much life left in it. Do you folks ever test old batteries before tossing them out? So, this is all the batteries I've got left at home. Let's see if we can find one that fits this clock. Alright, let's start with this one. It's too big. Looks like that's not going to work. Now, let's give this one a shot. It's smaller, but yep, it's definitely too small. Looks like we're still not in luck. What about this tiny little battery right here? Let's take a look. I think we might be able to work with this one after all. Wait, I've just had an idea. I think I know exactly what to do now. But to make it work, I'll need one more of these small batteries. Alright, let's grab that and see where this takes us. Stay tuned, because I'm about to show you a little trick that might just save the day. First, let's start with this larger battery here. I'm going to remove the positive terminal. So for this step, we'll need a pair of pliers. This might be a bit tricky. No worries though. I'll grab a knife and carefully cut through the outer casing of the battery. Once that's done, I can peel it back and expose the positive terminal. There we go. It's still in great condition. Looks like it's practically brand new. Let's set that aside for now. Now, I've got a syringe here. The diameter of it is pretty much the same as the old battery from clock. I'm going to check the length to see if it matches up. Make sure to mark it once I've got the right length, so we know exactly where to cut. Have you ever used something unexpected like this as a tool? It's amazing how everyday items can come in handy for repairs. Let me know if you've ever used a syringe or something similar for a project. All right, now I'm going to cut off this small nub here. It's called an ambu, and it's typically used to attach the needle to a syringe. It's a simple step, but it's important to get it right so everything fits together properly. All right, we're done with that step. Now, let's move on to cutting the syringe casing. But first, we need to remove the inner part of the syringe. I'll place it down on the cutting board, and then carefully use a knife to cut through the plastic. Since this plastic is pretty thick, it might take a little longer to get through, so we'll need some patience. All right, we got the cut done. However, the edges are a bit rough, so I'm going to smooth them out using some sandpaper. All I need to do is place the sandpaper on a flat surface and then rub the syringe casing against it with a bit of pressure. This will help smooth out those jagged edges and give it a cleaner finish. Have you ever had to smooth out rough edges like this before? And there we go. Now we've got ourselves a brand new battery casing. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Now, for the next step, we'll take care of the positive terminal. First, I'm going to use a pair of pliers to secure it in place. That'll make it easier to work with. I've also got a soldering flux here, which will help clean up and polish the solder joints. It's a really useful tool to ensure the connections are smooth and solid. Have you ever worked with soldering before? It can seem a bit tricky at first, but with the right tools, it gets easier. Then, I'll use a soldering iron to melt the solder onto the back of the positive terminal. Don't be shy with the solder. Let's apply a good amount to make sure we've got a solid connection. Have you ever done soldering before? It's actually pretty fun once you get the hang of it, and the results are always satisfying. Just make sure to work carefully, and remember, a little extra solder is better than not enough. That should be enough solder for now. Next, I've got a small piece of wire ready. I'm going to cut off just the red part of it. Now, I'll strip off the plastic insulation to reveal the copper wire inside. This will allow us to make a good connection. After that, I'll use a soldering iron again to melt the solder onto the copper wire, ensuring the solder coats it nicely. Now, I'll use the solder we melted earlier as an adhesive to secure the copper wire to the positive terminal. All I need to do is place the copper wire onto the back of the terminal and then apply the solder, letting it flow into the joint. The solder will harden really quickly, and before you know it, the copper wire will be firmly attached to the terminal. Have you ever had to attach wires like this before? It's all securely attached now. Next, I'll try fitting it into the syringe casing. It looks like the top of the casing might be a little too tight, so I can't fully insert the positive terminal just yet. Looks like I'll need to make a small adjustment. I'll carefully use a knife to trim a little bit off. Take your time and carve carefully. Make sure to create just enough space. Remember, the knife is very sharp, so we need to stay extra cautious while cutting. Once we made the cut, we'll use a sandpaper to smooth out the edges and give it a clean finish. You don't need to sand too much, just enough to make it nice and smooth. It fits perfectly now, no more sticking out like before. I'm going to use some hot glue to secure the positive terminal to the new battery casing. Have you ever worked with hot glue before? It's a really handy tool, and once it sets, it's incredibly strong. It's always nice to have a quick and reliable adhesive on hand for projects like this. Now, let's move on to the syringe's inner casing. On the end of it, there's a small black rubber nub. We'll need to remove that. A simple twist with a screwdriver should do the trick. Just gently pry it off. I'm going to take a screw and carefully drive it through the rubber nub. You don't need to use too much force, just enough to make sure it goes through smoothly. Once that's done, I'll gently pull and adjust the screw so it goes all the way through the rubber nub without damaging it. Have you ever used screws like this to make something fit? It's a simple trick, but it can make a big difference when you need precision and control. Let's see how it turns out. Let's see how it fits into the battery casing now. Looks just right, doesn't it? Now, let's trim the excess wire, leaving just enough to work with. For the end of the wire, I'll strip off the rubber insulation to expose the copper inside. Since it's small, I'll need a pair of small pliers and a steady hand to do it carefully. Alright, now that it's stripped, I'll wrap the copper wire around in the screw to make a secure connection. Have you ever worked with tiny wires like this? It can take a bit of finesse, but the results are always worth it when you see everything coming together perfectly. Now, I'll use the pliers to clamp it down tightly, making sure everything stays in place. Alright, that's done. Next, we'll secure the rubber nub using a clip to hold everything steady while we work. Now, it's time to melt the solder and let it flow into the connection between the copper wire and the screw. The goal is to make sure they're tightly bonded together. The more solder, the better. It won't hurt anything, and it'll keep everything secure. Have you ever done a lot of soldering like this before? Sometimes, adding a little extra solder can really help solidify the connection and make everything more durable. That's perfect. The copper wire is securely attached to the screw now, and I don't have to worry about it coming loose during use. Now, let's remove the clip and see how everything looks. It's always a relief when things come together smoothly, don't you think? The hard work is paying off, and we're one step closer to having everything set up just right. Now, let's go ahead and fit this piece into the battery casing. Make sure to press it all the way in. Do you remember this small battery? I'm going to use it as the negative terminal for the new battery. I'll place it into the rubber stopper here. Let's check how it fits with the old battery first. It looks a bit too long, but that's all right. I'll just press the rubber nub in a little deeper to make it fit snugly. Have you ever had to make small adjustments like this when working on a project? It's all about getting the right fit, and a little push here and there can make everything come together perfectly. Perfect, it fits just right now. Next, I'm going to use some glue to secure the rubber stopper to battery casing, so it stays in place. Have you ever used glue like this to make sure parts stay fixed? It's a simple step, but it really helps make everything solid and durable in the long run. Plus, it's always nice to know that everything's firmly held together. Next, I'll secure the small battery onto the rubber stopper to create the negative terminal for this new battery. We're going to need some baking soda because it works as an excellent adhesive when combined with glue. I'll sprinkle the baking soda around the small battery, making sure it's evenly distributed. Take your time with this step and be careful not to let the battery shift out of place. A steady hand is key to making sure everything stays aligned. Have you ever used baking soda as an adhesive before? It's a simple yet effective trick, and it really helps solidify the bond. All right, now we'll drop some glue over the entire baking soda area and let it dry. Once the glue sets, everything will be nice and secure. Looks like the glue is dried now. The battery as a whole looks pretty neat, doesn't it? Have you ever seen a battery that's this transparent? It's definitely a unique and eye-catching design, don't you think? Now, let's check the battery specifications. I'll attach the probes to both terminals of the battery and see how it measures up. Look at that! The needle on the multimeter is moving. The reading is a bit on the weak side, but it seems like it's still good enough for now. Now, let's try fitting it into my alarm clock and see how it goes. I'll press the battery into place and flip it over to the other side. Oh, look at that! The clock is working now. Next, I've got a battery holder for 2 batteries, and 1 battery is already in place. Now, I'll add the new battery to complete the set of 2. In addition, I've also got a small motor here with a tiny fan blade attached to it. Now, I'll connect the 2 wires from the battery holder to the terminals of the motor. Look at that, it's working. So now we've got a little backup fan, ready for those days when the power goes out. Isn't it great to have something like this around, especially when you need it the most? Now, let's try putting the battery into this computer mouse and see what happens. I'll press the battery into place. Do you see the indicator light on the mouse blinking? I'll adjust the battery a bit and click the mouse. Looks like it's working now. We got a fully functioning mouse ready to go. And there we have it. We've just made a battery from a syringe. Simple yet surprisingly effective, right? At Hack and Craft, we truly believe that creativity can come from anywhere. Give it a try and share your results with us. We'd love to see what you come up with. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our next awesome hacks. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.